Today we're going to look at graphing linear inequalities. So we're going to start by defining what a solution is given an inequality. So a solution is going to be an ordered pair or a coordinate point that's going to satisfy the inequality that's given. So here we have an inequality and we're wondering, is 0, 4 a solution? Well, in order to find out, we're going to plug 0 in for x and 4 in for y. So I do that here. Is 4 greater than 5 times 0 minus 1? We know 5 times 0 is 0, so is 4 greater than negative 1? And yes, since that is a true statement, then the coordinate point 0, 4 is a solution. I'd like you guys to tell me whether 3, negative 3 is a solution to the given inequality. Now, we've looked at two examples where we test one point to see if it's a solution. However, with inequalities, there's more than one solution. So, since we have more than one point that satisfies our inequality, when we go to graph, we have to show that. And we show that by shading a particular side of our line. That shaded region is our entire solution set. So you could choose any point in that shaded part and you would find, or that point would work in your inequality. So when we graph our line, we call that the boundary line. And the boundary line splits our coordinate plane into two separate pieces, okay, two halves. And we call each of those halves a half plane. So let's look at an example. Here I have y is greater than or equal to 2x minus 1. So I went ahead and graphed that line like we know how to. And now we have to decide which of these half planes do I shade. So like I said, the line is our boundary line and it splits it into two halves. We have this half and we have this half. Each of these halves are called half planes. So we have to decide which half plane do I shade. Well, there's a couple different ways we can do this. The easiest point on our entire coordinate point, or on our entire coordinate plane, is the point 0, 0. So I can plug 0, 0 into my inequality and see if it's a solution. So I did that down here, and we get, is 0 greater than or equal to negative 1? That's true, so yes, 0, 0 is a solution. So I want to shade the side of the origin. Okay, the origin worked, so I shade this half plane. Okay, like I said a moment ago, if you choose any point in this shaded region, you can all choose a different point. And if you plug that coordinate point back in here, it will satisfy this inequality. So let's try this point, 0, 2. If I plug 0 in here, coordinate point 0, 2. So I'm plugging 2 in for y. 2 times 0, well, we know that would be 2 is greater than or equal to negative 1. That is a true statement. And like we said, it's in our shaded region, so it would work. So you could choose another point, test it, and it would work. Points over here would not satisfy the inequality. Okay, here's another one. Y is less than negative 1/3 x minus 2. So I went ahead and graphed that line. Notice this line is dashed. Our previous line was solid because it was greater than or equal to. However, this is strictly just less than, so we have to dash our line. And then we test 0, 0. So when I plug 0, 0 in here, I get 0 is smaller than negative 2, which is not accurate. So my origin, I do not shade that because it's not a solution. So I have to shade the opposite side, which looks here. Okay, this says y is less than. You can think of less than as below our line. So we shade below for less than. Greater than, we would shade above. This next page of notes is just a lot of hints. So when you have greater than or less than, you're going to have a dashed line. Greater than or equal to or less than or equal to will be a solid line. And then once you have your line graphed, then you have to shade. So if you look here, greater than or equal to, you're going to shade above the line. Less than or equal to will be below the line. If this part is confusing to you, you can always plug 0, 0 into your inequality, and that will help you decide which part to shade. Okay, Last one, we're going to graph 3x minus y is less than -4. But before we graph, we have to solve for y. So I took my 3x and I moved it to the other side by subtracting. We're left with -y less than -3x minus 4. Now you need to divide by -1, but remember when we divide by a negative, we have to switch our sign. So the inequality that we need to graph is 3x plus 4. So I did that. Again, dotted line because it's strictly greater than. And now I want you guys to tell me, should I shade the origin or not?